Welcome to our Benita's Maternity Program webinar. Today we're speaking with Sister Ingrid Groenewald, who will be chatting to us about breastfeeding and how to potentially get it right from the start. Welcome, Sister Ingrid.
I am very happy to be with you today again, and a warm welcome from myself and also from my baby, Erica. And today we are going to talk about breastfeeding and how to get it right from the start. It's a very important topic, and it's such an important thing to understand. And what can you do to get it right from the very start now that you are pregnant and that you're preparing for your baby's birth, and then also for everything that lies ahead. Okay, so first of all, perhaps we need to start with why is it so important? I'm not going to go into too much detail, but you know, breastfeeding cannot be compared to anything else. Breastfeeding is a very unique kind of food. It is something that you make, that your body makes for your individual, for your baby. You cannot compare two women sitting next to one another to say exactly the same thing is in there. It's exactly for your baby. It's right for how far, or first of all, how old your baby is. If we think about a newborn baby, or we think about a baby who's 2 weeks old or 6 weeks old, the milk keeps changing according to the baby's needs, and that cannot be made. You know, it's all living cells, it is all nutrition, and also a very big part of it is protection. And especially if we think where we are currently with, with COVID and all these illnesses and things going around, what you in actual fact are doing every time when you are breastfeeding your baby, you are protecting your baby against these things, because the breast milk is antibacterial, it is antifungal, and it's antimicrobial. So it really is medicine on tap. It can be used for so many different things, you know, for eyes that are sticky, for ears that are sore, for noses that are blocked, and obviously the food itself, you know, so it's really good for your baby. Okay, so then how to get it right? Because I do find that a lot of people really want to breastfeed, but then things sometimes get out of hand, or they experience problems, or, you know, things actually happen sometimes. So what can you do in pregnancy already to start getting things right to prepare for breastfeeding? Now, first of all, you don't have to do anything physically. I have met a lot of moms who actually have been told that they have to brush their nipples with all sorts of things. And let me tell you today, your pregnancy, first of all, with the hormones that you've got, that is preparing your body and your breast for breastfeeding. So you don't have to physically do something. So you've got the hormones, and that is actually fine. That is preparing the breast for breastfeeding. Okay. But what you can do in pregnancy is a lot of education. The more you actually find out about breastfeeding, the more you research it, the more you do different classes and courses on breastfeeding, the more you're equipping yourself with the knowledge to know that, you know what, your body can do this. And also, if you do experience problems, to know that those can be overcome and what you can do to try to get help. Okay, so definitely education is the first thing that comes to mind. And nowadays, with technology at our fingertips, it becomes easy because there are so many things online that you can actually do. Even what are we doing today, just with me talking to you, is already a help. But definitely by doing a lot more education and research on the topic, if you go to different websites, and I can point out 2 websites today that are really good, and I would say save those websites. And the first is La Leche League's website, and you have, La Leche League is a very big international support group, and they've got some really good articles and things that you can actually read. There's also a Facebook group that you can join that basically helps, you know, for support for breastfeeding mothers. And then also the other website is called KillyMom.com. That is also a very good evidence-based website that you can read. One should be always very wary as to where you get your information from. Sometimes things are not always up to date, and definitely people sometimes tell you funny things. So rather get the information from a correct source. I would also advise you at this point to look around where you live. You know, who is your closest lactation consultant, your closest midwife, who can help you with your baby and who can help you with breastfeeding concerns or problems that you might have. And if you really live between, you know, like really very far off on a farm somewhere, again, technology is there. You can reach out, and a lot of places can actually help you, even though you are very far away. So there's always help at hand. Okay, so let's see. Okay, so what can you do from the beginning to try to get breastfeeding off to a good start? Okay, so first of all, it's education. And then the next thing is to say, you know, the birth itself is really important. If you can, a natural birth is ideal, because also once baby's born, baby's placed on your skin to skin like this. And babies have a lot of instinctive behaviors. They sniff, and then they look around. It's almost like they're actually figuring out that, hang on, something smells really nice, and that's the colostrum that you've got, that baby actually smells. So, you know, the birth itself with the baby skin to skin, that is always a good idea, and no taking away, no measurements or weighings or things like that. So the initial bit is that a baby is placed on your skin directly after birth, on your chest like this. Take off your shirt, you know, just have your baby on you, as this actually sets a lot of things in motion. Then once you start seeing your baby starting to look around, is starting to actually sniff and want to start rooting and want to feed, then you can either help your baby to get to the right spot, or just by leaving baby, if you lie on your back, it's interesting to see how babies actually can get to the breast by themselves and actually start feeding. So that is definitely a huge step in the right direction, because if we allow this, the possibility for a good breastfeeding journey actually starts here. Okay, if you're going to have a cesarean, don't worry too much. Once baby is born and is given to you, even if it's later in the room or then in the recovery room, whenever you can actually hold your baby, I would actually then say, take off the clothes, do the skin to skin, you know, definitely do the skin to skin with your baby, and possibly to say, you know, daddy, you can do skin to skin if the mommy can't. Okay, so then you can step in and have your baby skin to skin until she's back from theatre, you know, if your baby is taken away from the theatre. The hospitals do differ how they exactly work. Okay, so that is the initial, the skin to skin, and to try to get baby to feed from the beginning. Now, I mentioned something earlier to say, you know, the baby's getting colostrum, and we have to remember that colostrum is the first milk that the baby's getting, and you already have that in your pregnancy. And you might have noticed, yes, there's something, and some of you might think, well, I've never seen anything, so is this a problem? And it's not a problem. So some people just see it and some people don't. So don't stress too much about that. It's just that you definitely already have colostrum in your breast in pregnancy that is starting. Once the placenta has been born, when the afterbirth has been born, that really is your body's sign to say, okay, now I have to start to make more breast milk. Okay, so then the colostrum starts to become more. Now, if we think about the colostrum is really very powerful, very concentrated. About 5 mils or a teaspoonful of colostrum is in actual fact good. You know, that is in actual fact a feed. Okay, so normally you wouldn't be able to measure how much your baby got, which is perfectly fine. You don't need to know how much your baby gets. Okay, you just look at your baby. If your baby is hungry, you put your baby onto the breast. Okay, so the colostrum is very concentrated milk, because remember that your baby's stomach is about the size of half a thumb. Okay, so it's not a big stomach, so there's not a lot of space to actually store the breast milk. Okay, so it is important to know that the first milk is very concentrated. Whenever you see your baby is hungry, the eyes open, that in actual fact, I would say now you take your baby and you put your baby to the breast, especially the first couple of days. Okay, remember your baby, as you're sitting here and you're pregnant, your baby's getting food all the time. Okay, so at the whole time your baby's getting food through the cord, okay, it is very new for a baby to be born and to have to wait for a feed. So whenever you see the eyes open, you must know your baby's hungry. Don't wait until you think, okay, well, perhaps my baby's hungry now because now your baby's crying. Crying already is a late stage of hunger. Okay, you can feed your baby then, but it becomes a little bit more tricky because your baby's upset, your baby's hysterical perhaps at this point, you become stressed, so that makes for a whole difficult feeding at that time. So it's a lot easier if your baby's calm, your baby just woke up, the eyes open. Often you'll see the baby's going to start rooting, looking around. Then okay, well, my baby's hungry now, and you can start feeding your baby. Okay, so now then, how do you then practically do this? And this is where my baby Erica comes in today. So I also have brought my other breast, okay, my third breast, okay, that I want to show you. How do you actually latch your baby? Because this is often the thing that causes people to have problems. How do you actually hold your baby, and how do you actually latch your baby on? Okay, so this is really important. A lot of people battle with sore nipples initially, and this is something that you can do from the start to make sure to try to minimize that you don't have painful nipples, that you can actually successfully breastfeed without any pain involved. Remember, even if you have problems, if you've got pain, it is something that can be fixed. Okay, so reach out to your closest lactation consultant, your closest IBCLC, or your closest midwife, whoever is in your area who can help and assist you. And sometimes it's just telephonically that you can just speak to someone, or somebody can just send you a good video to watch, and that already helps. Okay, so now I want to show you, if I can show you with my breast. Obviously you can't detach your breast like this, but if you have your breast, if you hold your baby, I just want to show you with what most people do. Most people hold their breast or hold their baby so that the mouth is at the nipple. Now this immediately is a flag here. Because what happens here is babies, if you have your baby in this position, the baby only opens the mouth a little bit, and then often babies only hold on, or they actually grab hold of the nipple itself, and this is painful. Perhaps the first feed you can actually do this and it feels okay. The second feed, it starts to become really uncomfortable, and the third one you think that you can't do this. This is really painful. So you want to avoid the mouth to just open and just hold on to the nipple. Babies should not nipple feed, they should breastfeed. Okay, and how to do this is that when you are holding your baby for a feed, the nose of the baby should be at the nipple, not the mouth, the nose. Okay, so the nose should be at the nipple, because once you have your baby almost like underneath the breast, in actual fact what happens is that the baby smells the milk because the nose is here. And then once your baby's hungry and is smelling the milk and then starting to look up to try to actually hold on, to grab the nipple or the breast. And once you look up, the jaw opens, so the mouth already actually opens. So once you have, I'll show you with the baby again. So you've got the nipple at the nose, and then the baby starting to look up to root. The mouth is opening, and once you see a wide open mouth, you can actually just slide your baby over. So how you do this practically, and I just want to show you. So if I hold my baby and I'm supporting the breast, okay, I'm holding my baby close. You can basically just have the nipple at the nose, and when you see the mouth is opening big, you just slide your baby over. Now, I must say, in this position that I'm holding now is sometimes quite tricky. What I want you to try to do is change your arms. Take this arm out and put it behind your baby like this, and then take this one out. What happens here is your baby is in actual fact lying on your arm. Okay, so you have a lot more control with your baby. And then with this hand, you can actually hold and support the breast. And with this one, you actually can keep your baby close. You can really tuck your baby in close, and you can really see what you do. So the nose at the nipple, and then if you see the mouth is opening big, then you just slide your baby over. Okay, and how you support the breast, okay, is watch out that your fingers are not close to the nipple. So if you hold the breast, don't have your finger too close, because this is where we want the mouth to actually, you know, the baby has to latch on. So if there's a finger here, the baby actually the only place really is the nipple. So this is what you want to avoid. Move your fingers further back, okay? And also, if I squeeze the breast like this, you can see it's almost like a sandwich, okay? If I do it like this, it's in this kind of, you know, position. If I turn the breast like this and you squeeze the breast like this, it's this position. So then you also look at the baby's mouth. So if your baby, for example, is in this position, okay, you must think, now where is the baby's mouth, and how is the baby's mouth? And the baby's mouth is really like this. So you have to try to get the breast so that you can actually have it's parallel with the mouth, okay? Because when we're eating a sandwich, you eat a sandwich like this. You don't turn it and try to bite like this, okay? You have to bite it like this, okay? So this is really from the beginning, from the first feed, you try to really have the baby like a good latch, open mouth, you know, and have baby really close to you. There should be no gaps between the baby and yourself, okay? So these are really like the first couple of things that I would think to always watch out when you're starting to feed in hospital or at home, wherever you are with your baby, to always watch, try for the big mouth. At any point, if it feels uncomfortable, take your baby off and latch your baby on again. And remember, you can't just pull the baby off, okay? That's going to be painful. How you do this is you take your finger, either any finger, and you just put your finger in the baby's mouth. And what happens, you're breaking the latch, okay? So then it's easier to take the baby off, and then you can just latch your baby again. So in this kind of position, and if you do this every time and it feels uncomfortable, take baby off and latch baby on again, then that actually helps that you don't get really sore nipples. Okay, so some tips for the early days is to feed frequently. Like I said before, always watch how you latch your baby. I would even say try different positions. So if a baby's in this position with this feed, with the next feed, you try to put your baby under your arm, for example. So you have a rugby ball method that is a different place that you can actually latch the baby, so that there's always different places around the nipple and the areola that the baby latches, and it's not always on the same area. Because again, remember that your baby wants to feed quite frequently. It's quite normal for babies to sometimes feed every 2 to 3 hours. Sometimes an hour later, your baby wakes up and wants to feed. And that is perfectly fine, okay? Your baby is feeding at this point all the time, continuously, okay? So remember to keep feeding also then frequently once baby is born, okay? If you see the eyes open, feed your baby. That also helps to really regulate and stimulate milk production, because the more you put the baby to the breast, the better for milk supply. Okay, so that is really important. So really, to get breast milk or to get breastfeeding off to a good start is the education initially, getting lots and lots of education, research the topic, read some books, and then also once baby is born, to really practice, and at any point try to do this over and over in different positions and support the breast and have a good latch. All those things will definitely help. Okay, and at any point, if you have any kind of problems, if you find that you are struggling, you've got pain, reach out, see who's your closest person that can help and assist, your closest lactation consultant, and reach out for help, because it's worth it. Okay, perhaps at this point it feels really overwhelming, but it is worth it at the end because it just becomes easier and easier.